Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So here we are, Chithurst Monastery, on a cold, windy, rainy November evening. The perfect English experience. People have come from around the area, and the forest workers who are here working for this special period of forest work period have come in from the forest out of the cold and wet to gather together, sit with each other for a while, do some chanting and get warm and listen to a bit of Dhamma reflection. Good stuff. Over the past week or two, I've been chatting with various and sundry people, a couple of folks in particular, some very useful, good, sometimes a little bit challenging, difficult conversations, things that people go through, things that all of us go through as human beings. Most of us have probably come to this practice, this teaching of the Buddha Dhamma, with this hope to experience some peaceful mind states, to improve our lives, to lessen the difficulties, stressfulness, suffering that we can experience, and have some sort of expectation and hope that we'll be able to tap into some pretty sublime experiences, some meditative states. I would guess most of us here have an appreciation for meditation and the benefits, the potential benefits of it, and hope to use it as a vehicle to liberate our minds, to see the ending of dukkha, the ending of suffering, to experience the goal that the Buddha talks about and offers as a potential for all of us, so that we learn certain techniques, we come to practice in certain ways, we go to certain teachers and glean their advice, and hope to kind of have this trajectory of smooth sailing, just gradually increasing sublime, peaceful states, one after another, slowly inching our way in a progressive upward, always upward cycle of increasing freedom until we tip over into complete liberation. That's the paradigm that I think oftentimes we hope for, even if we have some realistic expectations that it may not go quite that smoothly. But that paradigm is there. And then something comes along, obstructions happen, difficulties arise, and we get knocked off that trajectory that we think is our right in a way, what we want to experience. And we're left to cope with old habits, old ways of reacting, gnarly mind states that inevitably arise. So we have to really get to understand and get to learn that a lot of this path, most of this path maybe even, is learning how to skillfully negotiate our way through samsara as we move, keeping that potential in mind of liberation. But to realize that the mind habits, the old ways, the ways that we perceive the world, the ways that we conceive the world, have to be dealt with in a skillful way. Ajahn has summarized the path in a very simple way. He says basically there's just two things that we need to do. We need to know and let go. And I think many of us want to skip right over to let go, but we need to really spend a lot of time with learning how to know, how to experience the world as it comes to us based on kamma, our old habits of how we perceive the world around us, how we react to the world around us, and how we have developed habits to seek an end to our suffering that don't seem to work anymore. The old habits, we've started to realize it's not going to work that way. We won't find that peace of mind in the ways that we've tried for so long. So I think we all have to, one of the things that we have to own up to is that all along this path and in our lives we make mistakes, and we have to learn from those. It's sometimes it's very hard to accept the fact that we're imperfect beings, but that's why we're here. That's the MO of being a human being, is the fact that we try different things and we get it wrong, and we have to learn from that. That's how we learn. So not only is making mistakes inevitable, but it's necessary in a sense. Otherwise we won't learn. So we have to be prepared for that and deal with the mind states that come up when either we make mistakes and cause harm in some way to ourselves or to others, or when others make mistakes and cause harm to us or to other people. We have to learn how to hold that and not get wrapped up in our usual habitual reactions. Because the habitual reactions when someone harms us is to get angry and righteous, righteous indignation, and to want to sometimes, if it's quite severe, we want to see retribution happen. We want to get rid of the painful feeling of being harmed in some way, of being hurt by striking out. And we think that's our habitual reaction. We get rid of the pain by counteracting it with a similar force. Or if we've hurt somebody else, if we've made a mistake and we've caused harm, and we're dealing with the memories and the repercussions of that, we can easily move into intense self-criticism, self-blame, and just recreate the stories all over and over again, somehow thinking that if we just punish ourselves enough mentally, then somehow that will ameliorate the condition or make it go away. We'll have paid our dues if we beat up on ourselves enough. So I guess this is all coming up because of, like I said, some recent conversations I've had, people struggling with either end of this, either being the recipient of difficulty or the witness to difficult, unskillful situations, receiving harmful words and deeds, or having memories of regrets of having done that themselves. And how to negotiate with that, how to apply that, an antidote, how to work with that. It's basically the noble truth of dukkha coming right into the foreground. There is suffering, and there's the duty is to understand it. That's the duty of the first noble truth. Is we have to fully understand it before we can move on to understanding how it came to be and a path that leads to its resolution. So it's that skillful negotiation through samsara that is so much of our practice. For some reason, as I was thinking about this, a movie that I saw almost, 25 years ago maybe, more like almost 28 years ago. It's just before I became a monk and was in California getting ready to take my anagarika precepts and move into Abhayagiri with Ajahn Amaro, and then soon after Ajahn Pasano joining up. And there was a person who I was friends with in the Bay Area, and she actually is somebody who used to be the office assistant at Amaravati 30 years ago. I don't think anybody other than maybe Ajahn Karunadhammo remembers her, Jeannie Bendick. Yeah. Anyway, she was at Amaravati for some time and then moved back to her home in California. And I was spending a little bit of time with her before becoming an anagarika, just before taking my ordination. She thought that I should go to a movie one last time. So it was the last movie that I saw before leaving the home life. And it was a movie called Dead Man Walking. And I don't know if anybody here has seen it. It was, like I said, I think it came out in 95, so it kind of dates me. But it was a wonderful movie. And if you haven't seen it and you have the opportunity, then I would highly recommend it. But it's about a man who was a convicted murderer, rapist, murderer of violent crime, and he was on death row. And he was in the middle of an appeal for that, but still on death row, and was assigned a prison chaplain who was a Catholic nun. And she started to meet with him during that period and got to know him. And this is based on the movie itself was not a complete accurate description of the story, but it's based on some similar events, real events, situations that happened, so somewhat fictionalized. But nevertheless, she, in the movie, she was counseling him through his appeal, and basically he was in complete he completely denied that he was part of this very violent crime of raping a young woman and her young teenage part. There were teenagers, a couple teenagers, and then he and his accomplice killing the boy and also the girl. So he was on death row for this. And he pretty much denied, during this appeal process, was denying that he had any responsibility with this, even though he had been convicted. And as she counseled him and was listening and talking and getting to know him, basically he was completely without any remorse, or just completely denied the whole thing. And then he lost his appeal, and the countdown for his execution was coming up. And as time went on, and as the execution date got closer, she also, the chaplain also ended up talking with this man's family, and also, interestingly, the families of the two teenagers who were killed. The father of the boy, I'm not sure where the mother, I can't remember what happened to the mother, if they had divorced her, but it was mainly the father of the young boy who was killed, and then also the two parents, the mother and the father of the young girl. And they had a hard time accepting that she was even trying to help this convicted killer of their children. And throughout that period, you could see just the intense anger and just this complete wish for retribution, hoping that would somehow take away their pain of having lost their two beloved children. And just their anger at the chaplain for even trying to help, what they considered this evil beast. Rightfully so in some ways. I mean, that's a pretty tall thing to have to come up with, to deal with the murder of your children. It's bound to being, almost impossibly difficult. So the story is centered around her dealings with them, dealings with the convicted killer, dealing with his family, as he was slowly moving towards his execution date with no hope for appeal anymore. And his continuing resistance and anger and denial about the whole situation. So in a sense, what finally happened as the day grew closer and closer and closer, she very skillfully was able to work with him. She centered more of her time directly with him, of course, and then very, very close to the time of the execution, he started to break down his barriers, and he was able to finally, just, I don't know if it was hours or a day or so before the execution, he was finally able to admit to the chaplain that he indeed had committed the crime and killed. He actually ended up admitting that he had raped the girl, killed the boy, but his accomplice was the one who actually killed the girl. And he was able to own up to it in a very powerful admission of guilt and remorse, knowing that there was still no hope for him, that the appeal was denied, and in fact he was guilty. And it was a very powerful moment of redemption that he went through. And that's essentially one of the factors of that particular story. And it was one of redemption, as well as a number of other things that came up as part of that. But in the end, of course, he was put to death. In this rendition of it, in this recension of it, he was given a lethal injection. And the families of the victims were witness to it, as they can be if they wish. And so the movie portrayed not only his death at that moment, but the reactions of the family members and the hardened look on their faces as he passed away. And the movie is not completely over at that point. The story kind of moves into the aftermath of this to examine a bit of the family's reaction. And it was very clear that, at least for the couple, the husband and wife of the girl who was killed, that that kind of anger and hatred and pain of having lost their girl in such a brutal way was not ameliorated by the execution of the killer. The promise of retribution didn't pan out, and the bitterness and anger didn't go away, at least for as long as the movie tracked it afterwards, the story tracked it. The husband, or the father of the boy who was killed, ended up continuing to meet with the chaplain for some time afterwards, and to work from a spiritual angle on his pain and his anger. And the movie didn't go through a long period of time after the execution, but you could see that there was in a sense, a reluctant willingness on his part to start realizing that the execution, the retribution, the eye for eye, he was able to recognize that wasn't going to make his son come back. It wasn't going to undo the deed that was done. And that if he wanted to transcend this and get at least to some stage of acceptance beyond the execution, that he was going to have to start to work on that inwardly and find some way to accept and start to release the anger, the resentment. And that was where the movie ended. So it just was a very powerful statement about the fact that the futility of retribution, the fact that all of us, when we experience difficult experiences, the habitual tendency is to want to get rid of the painful feeling by somehow striking out or counteracting or creating a different scenario, and hopefully justice will be done. The person who's harmed us in some way or another will reap the results of that in a way that, will satisfy us and make that painful feeling go away. And that just doesn't work. The Buddha, I think, kind of phrased it very succinctly with his Dhammapada phrase of hatred never ceases through hatred, only ceases through non-hatred. But it doesn't keep us from kind of falling into those habitual patterns, not realizing that our perceptions, our memories, and our creations in our mind are almost always not going to pan out the way we think they are, or they're not accurate representations of what we may really have experienced. They're conceptions, they're creations that are subject to our own ways of seeing things, of framing things, and our own wishes and desires to be free from pain. No, the Buddha says it in a very beautiful way. It's like for however we conceive it, it is always other than that. And even if we don't get caught up in a major drama of some sort like that, just the ways that we respond to being hurt, or if somebody treats us incorrectly or falsely accuses us of something, or says something that causes us to feel anger or irritation, then that sense of, even if we don't act on it in a retribution kind of way, we experience oftentimes this internal sense of righteous indignation. And this was one of the topics that was coming up in the past couple of weeks, is how to deal with that sense of that rising anger and frustration when somebody does something that's unskillful. Because righteous indignation is a very powerful kind of feeling that we have, and is that precursor in a way to acting out in terms of retribution. But even just that mental experience of righteous indignation is very strong, very powerful, and we think that somehow if we can create a scenario, a conversation in a sense, in our heads, that somehow that will cause the pain to go away, the pain of that comment or that action that somebody did. How many conversations do we have of, what I will say, what I should have said, how they would respond if I said it this way, those kinds of stories that we keep on going over in our heads based on this righteous quality. And it could be that we are right and have a completely accurate portrayal of it, and that our opinions about their actions or their words are spot on. But there's still the indignation. That's the problem. There's still the indignation and the painfulness of the stories that we feel, the rising of the heat rising in our bodies, the response that we come up with in our heads over and over and over again as we review the storyline. So the painfulness of righteous indignation. We have to negotiate that sometimes because these things happen. This is human realm and people make mistakes. Other people make mistakes that cause us pain. Or on the other side of the equation, this is one of the things that was coming up, was a sense of remorse that comes up when we do something unskillful, having to deal with the memories, in a sense that oftentimes the comic consequence is dealing with the memory of something we said or did that was unskillful or harmful, even for going back many, many years. Those memories come up and haunt us. We make mistakes and we live with the memories of them. I remember going through a fair amount of this in my first few years in monastic life as I was settling in to my anagarika and samanera and junior monk years. Recurring memories of unskillful things that I did as a layman would just keep popping up in my head, and this sense of regret and remorse, and wish I hadn't done that, and why did I do that, and how could I have been so stupid? Why didn't I think this through before I said that or before I did that? It was becoming very painful over and over again, and I wasn't finding a very skillful way of holding it, even with all of the meditation and trying to live the life of a young monastic just starting out. Yet these difficulties, these memories were coming up. And I was actually here at Chithurst, my third vasa, when some of it was starting to surface even more intensely. And there was another monk here who I ended up talking with about this experience. And he was great. He actually had a fairly good knowledge of the suttas, and he said, "Oh, you should read the sutta. I've got one that is right up your alley here for what you're going through." And he pointed me towards what's often titled, what Bhikkhu Bodhi in his translation titled, the conch trumpeter, or the conch trumpet blower, which is in the Samyutta Nikaya, in the section on village headsmen. And it's an exchange between the Buddha and one of the disciples of the Niganta Nataputta, the Jain leader of the Jains. And this disciple, who was a village headman, was telling the Buddha what the teachings of his teacher were. And essentially it was on the lines of kind of point, tit for tat kamma, I guess is a way of thinking of it, in that his teacher, as he related it to the Buddha, basically had this doctrine of anyone who takes life, anyone who steals, anyone who engages in illicit sex, anyone who tells lies, those people, as a result of their actions, will end up in a plane of deprivation, in a lower realm, in the hell realms. That's the karmic consequence of breaking those precepts, in a sense. Those are the first 4 of the 5 precepts. So anyone who engages in those activities will receive the negative karmic consequence of birth in a lower realm. And the Buddha, there's a series of exchanges, and the Buddha kind of refutes that in different ways. But then when he gets to the final section of it, he basically says, and then there arises a Tathagata in the world, the Buddha arises in the world, and his teaching, referring to his his own teaching, is that yes, there are circumstances where the final part of that teaching is that the person who hears that from the Jain teacher says, and therefore I have taken life, I have stolen things, I have committed these offenses, and therefore, based on that, I am destined for hell. And he suffers and is remorseful about that. And then the Buddha goes on to say that the Buddha's teaching is that, yes, there are circumstances where one commits these offenses, and one should reflect, and there is no way that I can pretend that they didn't happen. I have remorse for these actions, but my belief or my remorse for these actions won't undo them. It won't make them go away. I have to own up to the fact that, yes, these actions happened and they caused harm. And then he says, based on that understanding, based on that reaction, the skillful response is to say, okay, I admit it, I can't undo it, it was unskillful, and based on that, I will refrain from doing that in the future. I will make a resolution to not take life, to not steal, to not engage in illicit sex, to not lie, to not engage in the unskillful behaviors that cause so much trouble. And by owning up to it and admitting it and making the resolution to not repeat it, one has taken the first major step in towards ameliorating the consequences of those actions, and that one does not necessarily doom one to rebirth in the lower realms. But if the person continues to believe that that's the case and constantly beats his breast and says, I'm destined to reap the karmic consequences and to be born in a lower realm, then if they hold on to that view, if they fix onto that opinion, hold on to it tightly, then sure as shooting, that's what's going to happen. They will seal their own fate. But if they make these amends and make this resolution, then that opens the door for transcendence of those deeds. And the next step is to start practicing with the Brahma viharas to expand one's mind through loving kindness, non-ill will, through compassion, equanimity, and sympathetic joy, to develop these very broad, open, expansive mind states, in addition to owning up to one's transgressions. And based on that, that is the path to liberation of the heart, liberation of the mind, the temporary liberation that comes with the practicing and development of these very expansive, beautiful mind states. And that the effect of any consequence, the karmic consequence of any actions that were performed in the past that were harmful in that way will be experienced to a much lesser extent based on that acknowledgement, the resolution to do better, and the development of these broad, open, expansive, skillful mind states. So that there is the possibility for redemption in this very life from those deeds that we regret. So this was a really powerful help to me in that my third year here, and provided a lot of solace, the fact that it isn't a inevitable tit-for-tat kind of consequence, and that there was a method that I could use to help relieve some of that remorse and that regret. Buddha uses another simile that helps describe that it's a simile of salt in water, and he says, imagine that there's a glass of water and you put a good spoonful of salt into this glass of water, stir it up, and take a taste of it. You really taste that salty taste. But if you take the same spoonful of salt and throw it into a large body of water, in his example, the river Ganges, and then let it dissolve and dilute itself and then take a taste from that large body of water, you probably don't even taste it at all, maybe just a tiny bit. And that's the simile that shows the power of these expansive mind states, so that the same action, consequences of the same action in a very narrow, constricted mind state versus a very expansive mind state, the experience is very different. So there is a path that the Buddha teaches that for redemption, that's a quality that we can all aspire to use, developing these expansive mind states and owning up to the truth of suffering, owning up to the truth that we make mistakes, that other people make mistakes. That's how we all ended up here. And that there's this path is a path towards release from that. There is hope. And then once we've developed that, those techniques, those paths, those way of holding things, the important self-honesty, the commitment towards finding the truth no matter what it feels like, the willingness to experience these mind states that come up, and the development of expansive mind states as a way to hold them, as a way to be with them as they arise and as they pass away. That's the path that the Buddha teaches us. And as we do that, the mind becomes lighter and lighter and lighter. If we can develop these techniques, develop these ways of holding our experience, gradually over time the mind does become lighter, and we do have the opportunity to settle and experience these more sublime states in meditation that we're all hoping to establish as a way of seeing clearly and developing insight into the way that dukkha arises and dukkha ceases on our path to complete liberation. So that's the skillful negotiating that we all need to do, the knowing that leads to letting go. And, I think that as I was having these discussions with some other people, the question was arising about, well, how do I do that? That makes a lot of sense, but in meditation or in my practice, how do I start moving along the path of knowing in order to let go? And in addition to the tactics that we just talked about, the admission, the recognition, the resolution, and the practicing of expansive mind states, what came up to my mind was just learning how to witness these things rather than trying to believe in our thinking process to try and resolve it. We're so oriented and tuned towards intellectually and conceptually trying to think our way through these problems and to come to a rational, logical resolution through the thinking process. And we tell these stories to ourselves over and over and over again, rehashing them, trying to find some sort of relief on a conceptual level. If I just think this through, then I'll understand it and the pain will go away. But that doesn't usually work very well for me anyway. And that developing that quality of being a witness, and particularly allowing the bodily experience to be developed, letting the body be a witness to the difficulty, the pain, because we're trying to get away from the storyline that doesn't really take us anywhere and get down to the actual experience of what it feels like in the heart, and to witness that, to own up to that, to essentially allow ourselves to deeply penetrate and understand the first noble truth before we move on to release the third noble truth. And developing that sense of witnessing it with the body. I really like the word witnessing. was introduced to it through Ajahn Sucitto in his book, Breathing Like a Buddha, where he talks about, he uses that word in the fourth tetrad of the Anapanasati Sutta. Instead of contemplating impermanence and contemplating dispassion, contemplating cessation, contemplating relinquishment, he uses the word witnessing, which brings it into a more experiential, receptive quality rather than a doing kind of a quality. So witnessing our experience, witnessing the difficulty, the pain, the remorse, the anger, the frustration, allowing ourselves to feel it on a tactile level in the body as a way of getting down a layer deeper than the conceptual realm. Take us out of the story and into the feeling, witnessing it. And using the meditation, the breathing, as the mind settles to help deepen that quality. That's how we can get to know these mind states and how to develop an expansive acceptance and a very broad way of holding them without judgment, but knowing them for what they are. This is kind of relentlessly asking ourselves, what's the truth here? We're seeking truth. And the truth is that these are painful, and that, but I can get to know them and experience them without being overwhelmed. I don't have to resist. And that's the first step towards release. The honest acceptance through clear knowing, clear seeing. And then we have the opportunity to let go. And we do that little by little, over and over again, day after day, month after month, year after year. Just bits and pieces at a time. There is no fast. There is no quick way to freedom. One drip after another, filling the vessel over time. But knowing through experience that it does have its results, and it will lead to increasingly peaceful states of mind and to a sense of, okay, there is a goal that can be realized. So I'll leave it there for this evening's reflection.
We closing this evening by chanting reflection on the unconditioned, page 49 in the dark brown books. Again, we dedicate to Kathy Holter, who died 8 years ago today. Antamayang nibbana suttapatang panamase adipikawe ajatang aputang agatang asangatang. There is an unborn, unoriginated, uncreated and unformed. No jetang pikawe apavisa ajatang aputang agatang asangatang. If there was not this unborn, this unoriginated, this uncreated, this unformed, naitang jata saputa tassa gatassa sangatassa nisaranang panyayeta. Freedom from the world of the born, the originated, the created, the form, would not be possible. Yasamajako bhikkhave ati ajatang aputang agatang asangatang. But since there is an unborn, unoriginated, uncreated, and unformed, tasamajata saputa sakata sasankata sanisaranang panyayati. Therefore is freedom possible from the world of the born, the originated, the created, and the form. Closing homage in Pali, page 28. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivate. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavata